Hi friends, it's Peggy Noe from PrettyPaperCards.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here today with my little Yorkshire Terrier, Ellie. How are you guys today? It's a Wednesday afternoon, a warm Wednesday afternoon, I think all over the country. And especially here in Southern California, we're having a bit of a heat wave. It gets much warmer later, so I'm not complaining, but we are running our air conditioner today. So let me just see who's on today and get this up so I can see it and see your comments. How are you? How's everybody doing? We are running our air conditioner. Oops, there was my sound. Okay, good to see you. Good to see you. Today we are going to make a fairy garden card. Hi Diane, good to see you. Good to see you. Let me see, it's hard to see the comments. Facebook has changed itself. And I did something last time that, that kind of helped me see your comments. So let me check today. Okay, I think I can see them better now. Okay, great. So yes, today we're going to make a fairy garden card. And I'm really anxious to make it with you and show you how to do it. I've been working on it and having a lot of fun. So, Diane, how is it in your neck of the woods as far as temperature and heat? Just wondering. So, one thing, did you all watch the Westminster Dog Show over the weekend? I love dogs. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched the Best in Show, and it was so nice. There wasn't a Yorkshire Terrier in the Best of Show, but a Pekingese won the dog show. But I did look at some of the Yorkshire Terriers. Hey, Allison. I did look at some of the Yorkshire Terriers that were the contestants in other areas of the show, and they had these long kind of whiskers. I'm trying to get her to show you these long whiskers like that. So I decided I'm going to try to grow Ellie's whiskers kind of long so that maybe she looks like one of those show dogs. I mean, her hair is very long anyway. So we might be trying to get her to look like a show dog. We'll see. She doesn't like to be played with too much. Okay, I have something I want to tell you, so I'm going to put Ellie down so that I can show and tell you. I am, right now, you can pre-order my June class to go. I don't know if you've ever taken one of my classes to go, but they are fun. If you have, maybe you could make a comment and let the others know. Let me turn my camera down a bit here. And my June class to go uses the beautiful Quiet Meadow bundle, the stamp set and die set. Now this is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to show you some of the highlights, I think, in this bundle. One, and it goes kind of with my style, I think. That's why I like it so much. These beautiful kind of words that don't, they don't really say anything, but they just go in the background. Dots, I love my dots. Christy, good to see you. Oh, Diane, you did watch the dog show, and the weather is hot and humid there. Yep, I hear ya. Actually, it's humid here in San Diego, which we don't have very often, but it's about 50% humidity. I know that's nothing for the rest of the country. Anyway, it has, back to the Quiet Meadow stamp set. I can get diverted with dogs. This beautiful floral image, which I really like, a large flower, and then some very nice sentiments. And this is one that's heartfelt love and caring thoughts are with you. That's kind of a good one for sympathy, I think. Or, like a difficult illness, something like that. But it also has you're too kind, thinking of you, and love. Now I want to show you, I'm highlighting this set because I want to make sure everybody gets it because I think it's so fabulous. So, a little dog hair in my mouth, I think. Here are the beautiful dies. They're all these gorgeous, tall, floral images and leaves. And then there's a butterfly. That's a full butterfly, and this is a little butterfly on its side, and we're going to use this today. Hi, Kay. Thanks for sharing. And then this label, which I really love. I know you've seen it around. Very pretty label. And then this teeny tiny little label. Let me get this one out because it's so cute. Look how cute that is. And you know what? It fits perfectly over the love. Isn't that darling? So this is what my class to go is using. I'm going to keep out the little side butterfly because we're going to use him on our project today. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek of some of the cards in the class to go. I'm just going to fly them by, okay, because I don't like you to see the whole thing because you're going to, I'm going to give you PDF tutorials and everything all about them. So here's one. Isn't that pretty? Now I've made two using the sentiment that I mentioned that I think is kind of a sympathy sentiment. I've made one kind of more generic maybe for a guy and one more for a girl. And then the special card for this class, which has some little tags that pull out and a fancy fold. What do you think about that? And that cute little tag that I showed you. So those are the cards that you will make in my class to go for June. Using the Quiet Meadow set, so you'll get the Quiet Meadow. You can either get the stamp set and everything else, all the makings for all the cards, plus PDF directions, plus a video tutorial, or you can get the bundle with the dies and everything else. And I put the link up there for you to the description on my blog, so you can go there and find out the whole description of everything that you get and make your decision if you'd like to do that. Okay. The card, well, first of all, today what we're going to use, and I'm going to show you, because this is kind of a possibly unseen die set in the annual catalog, and that's why I wanted to feature it today. It's right here, and it's called the Iconic die set. Did any of you notice it? It doesn't come as a bundle. It's this one right here. It doesn't have a stamp set that goes with it. It's just these really fun dies. And I'll show you a place where it's shown in the catalog is on page 18. It's shown with the Days to Remember stamp set, but it doesn't go with them at all. But you can see there's the bird in a branch. Here's some flowers. They've tucked them up under here, but it's kind of an unseen die set. So I wanted to use it for you today and show you. So here it is. And I want to show you all the parts to it so that you can really appreciate how cute it is. So there's this branch, and look, there are two mushrooms. This is how we're going to make our fairy garden with some mushrooms. Aren't these cute? A big one and a little one. Super cute. There's a bee. Can you see that bee there? A large and small flower. The bird is the only one I haven't actually cut out, but he looks like a great bird. 3 little flowers, and this is what we're going to use today a lot is, well, the flowers and the fern. We're going to do some fun stuff with the fern and 2 leaves. And here are some pieces of cardstock that I've cut out using these dies. And look at this smaller flower. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that texture? So in the center, it pokes out, the die kind of cuts so that it sticks up there. Very neat. Here's the larger flower. I'm not going to use the flowers today, so that's why I really wanted to show them to you. We are going to use the mushrooms. Here's the large mushroom, and here's the small mushroom. Aren't those cute? Here's the branch. That looks better put down. The fern leaf, the 2 extra leaves, and some of the bees. Look at those bees. They're pretty lifelike, aren't they? So that's this beautiful die set, the Iconic dies. And I really wanted to feature it because I thought, gosh, you know, I don't even know who notices it. Someone had to bring it to my attention. So that is the Iconic die set. And here is the card we're going to make today, this fairy garden card. and we are going to do some blending to make this fern background with our ferns. And look at the mushrooms. We're gonna make those today in the little flowers. So this is our card for today, and I hope you're liking it. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to do is I want to kind of teach you how to make this fern background using the blending technique. And so I've got a piece of my basic white cardstock, and it's 3 3/4 by 5 because I know it's going to fit on my card. I've already pre-cut it, and I've already also cut out some of the ferns. I've got the ferns already pre-cut. Now I wanted to show you, you could do your blending by using this as a stencil, okay? But that's not how I do it, because this would show the ferns as dark and the background as light. But I want to show the background dark and the ferns as light. So I'm going to just use one of the ferns, and I am using today the new Evening Evergreen Color ink from Stampin' Up. So here we go. And this is one of the blending brushes. They come in a pack of 3. And mostly, if you were going to do something where you're going to just blend the background without using some type of stencil, you would have to kind of get started on the side so the darkness gets, because it immediately puts down dark and then it gets lighter. But I really am not going to do that today, because I am going to use this fern leaf, frond is the correct term, I'm sure, like this. And I'm going to just, this is really easy, okay? It really doesn't take any thinking. Even if the leaf moves, you don't need to get all weird about it, because it just makes it pretty. The ink that's being laid down on the side is what's really pretty and what's going to look nice. And even if it isn't even or something, you don't really need to worry. And I'll lift that up, and look how pretty that is. Now I think I'll put it back down and get more of an impression on that bottom, because I was holding it with my finger, right? So let me get a little more ink down in there. And then we're just going to go all around the card and do the same thing. There we go. And the thing what I like about this is that you can place your frond wherever you want it, and you don't even have to put a lot of ink down. So there's going to be some ink in some areas more than others. Really, it's kind of just a peaceful little thing to do. Just go around and very peacefully. You don't need to work at it. Look at that, it's just happening. And then I'll put one like this, just coming from different directions. And then I'm going to go this way. What are you all thinking about this technique? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to put my finger there and hold this one down. You see how nice that's starting to look? And this is what is going to make this beautiful fairy garden background. Whoops. And even if that happens where it kind of slips out of your hand, it's so forgiving. It's totally forgiving. See how it's really just, it doesn't take much. I'm barely tapping there to get the ink on the blending brush. But what's basically happening is it's laying down color on the card and not where I have the frond. Okay. See how nice that looks? Doesn't it kind of look, don't you think it kind of looks like a fairy garden? And then when we put the mushrooms in, oh boy, it's purple mushrooms. Fresh freesia mushrooms to be exact. Okay, I'm going to hold this and get this corner with more ink. See how pretty that looks? And I'm just really working toward the center, because I want it to look as if you're just all surrounded completely by ferns. Like they're not necessarily growing in a particular direction. I think I'm going to get a few little fronds right there. Okay. And then we'll put this one right here. I'm having a hard time seeing your comments. Oh, thank you, Diane. I can read that. I love the misty ethereal quality. Yes, I did too. Especially, don't you think of that for a fairy garden? It's just easy and peaceful to do it. And see how it just, there's more ink in other areas and you don't even care because it's so pretty. It's just meant to be, you know, take me away to a neat garden like this. So you can do anything you want. You can use any type of die cut object to do this. I was kind of thinking of possibly using the dies, but I don't think the blending brush would get down into those areas well enough. I'm sure someone is, maybe some of you guys are more experts at doing this than I am, but it really is just a very easy little thing to do. Look at that, I just put a cute little, just even the tip of the fern right in the corner. Look at that. I think it's just cute. Now I'm going to go in and it looks like we need to fill in this area here with a little more fern. And the key is to be gentle. Well, I don't know that that's getting any better, but it's not supposed to be, you know, bad or worse. It's just what it is. It's just a beautiful garden. Isn't that pretty? And now once we put everything else on it, it'll be even prettier. And now I'm going to show you another little thing that I did. So I had cut 4 fern fronds out of Just Jade cardstock. And this is Evening Evergreen. Now the one frond got pretty colored from using it as a stencil. These others, I found that if I just do this, and you have to be kind of careful, you might want to touch with the, take your pick tool or something like that. But if I just kind of lay the fronds face down on the ink pad, and I'll show you what happens, how neat they look. Can you see that? Where are you? There you are. Let's see, let me put it on something white. There, it kind of makes a neat outline, or it just adds some interesting color, variegated kind of color. So I'm just going to do this just to get more color on it. I think it just added something neat. And let me hold this up compared to one that hasn't been done. Let me move that out of the way. Can you see the difference? Hey Anthony, good to see you. Allison, it is delicate. The little fronds are delicate, I have to say, but so realistic. And I know, you know how it is with Stampin' Up! Dies? There's so much intricacy to them. Like right in here, let me put that up close. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but do you see those lines right there? There's a line in the middle of each leaf. Well, actually, it's an actual cut. It's an actual place where the die has cut it. Let me see if I can show you better. See how I separated it like that? And I can even put my fingernail inside there. So I'm sure someone more creative than me, or with more knowledge, I guess if you went around and kind of poked those out, you'd get even more depth and more dimension. But anyway, that is just a really simple, easy way to create a kind of a, like, I think it was Marcia said, an ethereal background. And then the leaves have some texture because of the way we put them in the ink. So this is the beginning of our fairy garden. Now we're going to do some more, because our fairy garden is also going to have butterflies and flowers and mushrooms. So I'm going to pull out my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'm going to first start, I want to cut out 3 mushrooms, 1 large mushroom and 2 small ones. So I'm going to, for the small ones, I'm going to have to run it through twice. Let me see, I think I'll put that upside down. Okay. I'm just going to turn it this way so I can get a good hold on it. There we go. my paper's moving, my grid paper. Okay. So there are two of our cute little mushrooms with the holes. They're little cartoony mushrooms, but I like them. Aren't they cute? Okay, and now let me get rid of those little dots. You do get some little dots, but that's what makes the mushroom so cute. And then we're going to do one further small mushroom and run this little guy through our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Now you could do this. I tried it with some different colors. I think the sample that I showed you a little bit ago, I think I used gray granite. Let me get this going. It's moving on my paper. Here we go. Okay. So you could make red mushrooms, you could make purple mushrooms. We're going to make fresh freesia mushrooms today. Okay, so there's our other die, and here is our other mushroom. And again, I'm just going to move off the little dots. And now we're going to cut out some of those flowers I told you about. I had that little flower die here. Here it is. Whoops. And this particular die in this iconic die set cuts out 3 flowers. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to cut out 3 flowers. Pop it in there and get it going. I could have done it with the little butterfly. So remember the sideways butterfly that I mentioned? That I pulled this die from the Quiet Meadow dies. I'm going to use some, there you are, beautiful in color vellum. This is Fresh Freesia Shimmery Vellum, and this is going to make our butterfly really cute. And so this is the little sideways butterfly or half butterfly. You see how little he is like that? But I think it looks really cute and just more like a little addition to the fairy garden instead of taking the whole thing over. You know, a bigger butterfly could take the whole garden over, and we don't really want that. Okay. I might have to remove my paper there because it's not allowing my machine to run quite well. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Just a little tiny butterfly. Okay, now we can put this down, and let's see how our butterfly turned out. Look how cute that little guy is. See that little sideways butterfly? Isn't that cute? Okay, now we're ready to start putting our card together. So let's clean up a bit and just end up with our pieces that we're going to be using here, which are 3 mushrooms, 3 flowers, and a sideways butterfly. Okay, and let's bring our card back in. This is our 3 1/4 by 5 inch layering piece, and here's our card base. This is a piece of Evening Evergreen cardstock cut at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. That's your standard, I think they call it an A2 card. We're going to burnish it there. And now we're going to go ahead. I think actually what I'll do is let's build our garden, and then I'll adhere this on. Okay, so I'm just looking to see where my sample card is, because that kind of helps me. Doesn't it help you to maybe have a sample if you're copying? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our fronds, our fern fronds on. And we just want to do it mostly on the left side, just a little bit arbitrarily, so it looks like a fun garden. So I think I'm going to start with the one on the left here. We'll get that one set because I know I want that to come kind of like that, maybe even a bit off the paper. And this is how I discovered that those little leaves are cut in half. They have a slit in them. If anybody knows what that is, let me know. I mean, and if it's just to give dimension. So I'm just putting a few dots of glue, And again, one thing is I don't like to put the glue up on the top because I like it to be a little bit free. I like my cards to have a little motion, if you will. Okay, so there's our first one, and we're going to go back and trim the bottom off here later. And so we'll do a second one, maybe just coming over like that, and a third one. Let's see, I think we're going to go downward. Let's see if we can go down a little bit. So we're just going to stick them on. I'm not going to put that much thought into it. It's going to turn out very adorable no matter what way we go. So let's just have this guy come in like this. Okay. It does look like it's for dimension. That's kind of what I thought, Allison. Yep. And then I think I'll tuck this one in like that. It would take a little patience to pull out, you know, those slits on every single leaf of the fronds, unless you were maybe just using one. So we'll do this one kind of like this. And then we'll have one laid down. I think on my sample I had one laid down just a bit to be kind of like the floor of what they call the floor of a forest. Maybe just a little bit like that. And we'll just let that dry for about a second. And while we do that, we're going to go back and color our mushrooms. So here are white mushrooms. We've got 3 of them. And we're going to come in again with the blending brush, and we're going to add some fresh freesia. It's a little bit hard to say. Fresh freesia ink, just on the tops of the mushrooms. I think, you know, some of us lived during the 70s, and I think you could get going with a mushroom garden here from the 70s, right? So I'm just going to color that little mushroom so he has a light fresh freesia top. There are good mushrooms, so I'm going to decide that these are good because they're so pastel, they're so sweet looking. There's really a lot of intricacy in these. Can you see the little do you see the lines in the base here? And those probably even poke out too. I'm just amazed at what Stampin' Up! Does with their dies. Oh, and I know this, I forgot, this little part comes out. It doesn't stay in, but it hadn't popped out when I die cut it. So it looks like that. It's just very cute. And you know what I like about doing this is this method with the blending brush. It doesn't take any real talent. I'm not altogether that good with getting the beautiful blended skies and everything like some of you do. This doesn't take any talent. You just kind of pat and rub. Okay, there are our little freesia mushrooms. Alrighty, now let's go back to our garden. And I think we're ready to trim a little bit here. We're going to trim our fronds off with the base of our card, just like that. Okay. And there's the beginnings of our fairy garden. Now we just need to figure out where to put our mushrooms. And it's kind of fun to kind of hide them around and sneak them in places. What do you think about that? I kind of like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down these 2, and this one I'm going to put up on a Stampin' Dimensional, a mini Stampin' Dimensional. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, again, just enough, because it really just takes a tiny, tiny bit here. And we're going to tuck this little guy down in there like that. You know, I'm sorry, it's maybe So I don't think I need this grid paper anymore. Maybe you can see it better if I pull it out. Let's see. There we go. I think you can see that a little bit better, don't you? Okay. So then we're going to tuck our big mushroom in. We could have him sticking up a little taller. Just like that. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Maybe come down a little. Okay, and now we're ready for our last mushroom, and like I mentioned, we're going to put this one on a couple of mini Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm only going to put them on the bottom because that's really the only place to put them. I don't know if you call it a stem of a mushroom. Maybe we have some mushroom experts here. My son actually, he actually forages for mushrooms, if you can believe it, in Massachusetts, for the good kind, with medicinal properties. So there we go. There are our mushrooms. I never think you can see this well enough. I guess because I'm looking in a small camera. But isn't that cute? Now we're going to add our little flowers. And we're going to use mini Stampin' Dimensionals for these cute little pale papaya flowers. We have 3 different sizes, and we're just going to pop them on. Because a forest has little flowers, right? Especially a fairy forest. And then we're going to put some jewels on top of them. And there are little holes in the flowers, I know that, but we're going to cover them up with some jewels. So let's pop that one last one on there. And they're just like popping up out of the garden. Stem of a mushroom. Okay, Allison, my garden girl. Thank you so much. So let's add our jewels now. The ones we're going to use are the Elegant Faceted Gems, and I think I used some clear ones for my sample card, and I liked the way it looked because it kind of glimmered in the little fairy garden. I'm going to use a large one, and it just barely covers the dots, the little holes in the flower. You know, I know another thing we could do is put a plain piece of cardstock behind so a color actually showed through the little flowers, but I don't really see the need to do that, and I like the glimmering of the little clear faceted dots there. So let's see if this one will cover that. Thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate that you're here as I'm making my little fairy garden. And now for our butterfly, right? Our little one-sided butterfly. I'm just going to fold him up like this, just so he'll poke up a little bit. Actually, I think we better do the sentiment before we get too carried away. And I'm just moving right along here. I was getting ahead of myself. I think actually I'll go ahead and put this piece onto my card base so that we can really get the proportion for everything before we go on. So I'm going to raise this up with Stampin' Dimensionals just so that it comes forward a little bit when you look at it. I think this would be cute for a little girl, a little girl's card, a little girl who's into fairies. So let's put this on like this. Try to get it all even on all of our sides. Okay, and I'm going to go back with my bone folder and press down again. Okay, there we go. Now our sentiment, the sentiment I decided to use is from the Pansy Patch stamp set. It says, "A little hello from me to you." A lot of times I choose a sentiment because of the font. I might choose it also because of the size and the direction that it's going. So I'm going to stamp this in our Evening Evergreen. And I just love it that we know we're getting matching colors. That's part of what Stampin' Up! Does. We all love that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this as close as I can to the base of my scrap piece of basic white paper. Okay. And then I'm going to take my little mini trimmer. If I didn't have this, I would use my larger trimmer, but I do have this super cute little mini trimmer here. And so I'm going to try to cut this real thin. Okay, right here. So it's a nice thin piece. Like this. I could have trimmed it even a bit more narrow. Let me try that one more time. Yes, the font style, Anthony, of the Pansies, the Pansy Sentiments, it really is a neat font. So I'm going to just try to get this a little more narrow. Ah, I like that much better, don't you? Nice narrow little sentiment. And it's going to go, it goes really nicely right here. So what I'm going to do is trim the left side, the right side. Can you see that? Sorry. So that it will come right up against that edge. And then I'm going to give this left side a flagged end. Oh, thanks, Diane. It is fun to do something a little different, isn't it? I agree with you. I also recently got one of the little, one of the stamp sets that has some cooking tools with it, kitchen-y tools. And, well, actually it has cupcakes, a whole stack of cupcakes. And I'm really excited to use that too. I've done one card with it. But it is fun to use something besides flowers. So that is going to set right across there. Now I could have lowered the mushroom, the big mushroom a little bit, but that's why the butterfly, when we put the butterfly on, it's going to take up that space, right? Okay, so here we're going to use some mini dimensionals again so that our sentiment kind of stands up. I appreciate your patience. I think this is going a little bit longer than normal because, well, I mean, when you make a fairy garden, what can you say? It's got to take a little bit longer, right? And I haven't even made the inside either. I should have done that. The inside of the card, we may not have time, but what I'll do is I'm going to kind of use the blending brush again with one of the fronds of the fern. Okay, and then we're going to put our butterfly on with one mini Stampin' Dimensional, mini glue dot rather. I'm just going to grab up that glue dot. And what I'm going to do is try to stretch it out a bit right on this teeny tiny edge of the butterfly. And then we'll press him down right here. And so that kind of fills in that space we're talking about. That whole big space there. Let me press that down with my bone folder. And there's our card. Isn't that just the cutest little fairy garden? Thank you, Anthony. So I'll finish off the inside. I'm going to add a piece of basic white and do some of that on the inside. But I don't want to keep you too long today. I want to thank you so much for stopping by. And let me just come back here. If you want to get one of my if you want to pre-order my class to go using the Quiet Meadow set, it's really going to be a gorgeous set. You're going to make 5 cards and you get either a stamp set or a bundle, and you also will get an embossing folder and some in-color jewels. So you get quite a bit. So click on that link and go on over there and just email me or leave me a note down below here and I'll get in touch with you. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you Friday. Okay, bye-bye.